We're going to delve more into the topic by connecting with a clinical psychologist and counselor, Pa Robert Oloan Rajagukguk. Good morning, Pa Robert. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pa Robert.
Nice to be here.
Great.
Thank you for being here.
So listen, a report in the Journal of the American Medical Association had found that 10% of men worldwide are actually showing signs of depression from the first trimester of their wife's pregnancy all the way through to 6 months after the child is born. What is this phenomena, Pa Robert? Is this paternal postpartum depression, and what can cause this to happen?
Well, it's quite a number, yeah, 10%. For most parents, having baby for the first time, of course, it's very exciting experience. Not only for the mothers, but also for the fathers.
Yeah.
But excited could mean anxious too. They're anxious about what's gonna happen.
Right.
And also they're anxious also for the new roles as parents. For the first time, you may not know what are you expecting. Yeah.
I guess it's a different. It's like it's mixed feelings because you can't,
Right.
it's hard to identify sometimes. When you
Right.
feel anxious, you're right. It can feel like excitement. Excitement can feel a
Yeah.
little bit like nervousness.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's a lot. It's very hard for us to identify, especially if we're not used to some of these emotions
Right.
that we're.
I mean, if it's mothers, it came natural with us, right? Because I mean, we know as mothers you're going to be pregnant and then you're going to deliver a baby. So I think
Right.
it came natural with us that we are going to be a parent, as opposed to I think
Sure.
as men, to be a father, the leader of the family. Now you have to put the food on the table not only for your wife, but also for your children and how you can contribute, in this
Correct.
life for your children. I think that's
Correct.
the most key to it. Now. Pa Robert, what are the risk factors that can contribute to the development of paternal postpartum depression for men?
Well, many people don't know that as the father adjusting with the new role, they
Right.
also have the change in their hormonal. A lot of stressful tension during the waiting for the new baby, and also when the baby finally come, a lot of tension, especially if they have the history of depression, or maybe they're thinking about financial, how are we going
Correct.
to finance and all the income come. And also the risk factor is the relationship between the father and the mother. If they're in a good relationship, maybe they can handle it. But if they are not, then that will be the risk for postpartum for the father too. Another risk factor is that the age of the father when they have the firstborn.
Yeah. Does trauma also include, Pa Robert, let's say, a particular father has a post-trauma issues or family issues and whatnot. Could that also contribute with the postpartum depression?
Right, mental health problem with the father also will be the risk for this postpartum depression. Because they are very vulnerable with the new change and the new stress. It depends on how they handle the stress. If they have a very low stress tolerance, then they will be very risky to develop this postpartum depression.
Pa Robert, you mentioned something about hormonal imbalance. Is that because we do know if a woman is carrying a child or after giving birth, the hormones within the
Yes.
body are actually trying to adjust itself. And how does that happen in men? Is that happening because we're not actually the ones carrying the baby?
Yeah.
How does our hormones get out of balance?
Always when you are in stress, we actually experience also the hormonal imbalance, not only psychological imbalance. It's like automatically in our body.
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
basically how well we handle
So-
our stress, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so let's try to define this, because I had it confused. I thought postpartum depression was daddy blues, which I think is what I had. I'll just explain briefly.
Okay.
During the first few months of my second baby's birth, I felt like, I know it's silly, I feel silly now saying this, but I felt like the baby didn't feel attached to me. So therefore, I felt like the baby didn't love me as much as the mother. And I thought every time I carried the baby, he wouldn't respond to me as much, or he's crying a bit more.
Right.
And I thought, oh, well, my wife said, you just got daddy blues, don't worry about it, or you had it and then it's passed.
Right.
Can you clearly define what is postpartum depression and what is daddy blues?
Yeah, daddy blues is like a very, very light symptom of anxiety.
Okay.
Yeah, as the men react to the process of the stress and the changes in their role. So daddy blues symptoms probably like anxiety, maybe the increase of irritability, maybe they feel that they are not ready yet, and sometimes they withdraw from the relationships. That is very common.
Okay.
But postpartum depression is more severe because it can cause into suicidal thought
Oh, wow.
and all the anger and negative emotion toward the baby.
Right.
So postpartum depression is more severe than the daddy blues. Daddy blues could happen and it's very easy to to handle,
Right.
and it's very common among men who
Right.
become a father.
Okay, so
Right.
I've definitely had daddy blues.
Right.
It just passed, just like
Right.
that. Only within a couple of months. I didn't even do anything about it. It just
Right.
disappeared.
So how do you define the symptoms
Right.
of paternal depression, postpartum depression then, Pak Robert? How could we define it? What kind of symptoms, like, we've kind of seen, like what, well, you said daddy blues are much is more lighter. What about the paternal
Right.
postpartum depression?
But it's vary in different men, but common symptoms of postpartum depression is anger.
Okay.
They easily become angry, yeah, irritability. Sometimes they lost interest in working and all the favorite activities they usually do. Some men will work all the time, try to get busy, maybe to to release the tension, or maybe try to avoid the stressful situation at home because with the new baby, a lot of things to do, and feeling frustrated, feeling powerless. Sometimes they also, want to help the wife, but they cannot do anything because they have to learn new things. Like changes the diapers, or even they get tired because they have to wake up in the middle of the night. That's a new role, and also the lack of sleep also contribute to the symptoms.
true.
Of course, having a baby, right?
All about it.
Yeah, I know. So, Pak Robert, we also want to know that, men are often, socialized to value independence, dominance, and also strength and self-reliance, control over their emotion. And many sees that as, weakness and shameful. So when men start to feel anxious, empty, or out of control, they might not understand it. And they often avoid to help, asking for help. I mean, Paul, you're different with your case because you and Chichi has a great communication, right?
Right, yeah, we tried to play a balanced role.
Right.
And during our first child especially, she hated changing diapers. So we all had our own roles, like, okay, bathing and diapers,
Yeah.
that's me.
Right.
And then obviously feeding and nursing and weaning would be her.
Right.
And I think that really helped because it allowed me to feel important as well. And it's true.
Playing a role in it.
Right.
Yes.
And then that statement you just made is absolutely true. As a man, I don't know why. I think this is masculine toxicity world that we live in, is that sometimes we don't want to show our weaknesses as well. So whenever
Yeah.
we do exhibit some of these symptoms, we're kind of like, we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that can actually cause further depression, right?
Right. No, then, Pak Robert, what could we do to help them? I mean, as a wife, especially as the mother of the kids, we want, the father to be happy too, especially during this parenthood. How
Right.
could we help our partner then, Pak Robert?
Well, the main issue for men is usually power. So they hate to be powerless. They like to be in control, but nothing they can do sometimes. They want to help, but this is a new thing for them. Yeah. So what can the wife do? Well, they can gently encourage the husband to get some help. Knowing that this depression also include the hormonal things,
Yeah.
So they need help, like a medical treatment. It's very common. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So maybe the wife can say nothing to be ashamed. You don't need to be ashamed because this is just a adjusting process
Right.
as being a new father. So everybody experience the same thing, but it's okay. You know.
Right.
But if she has a psychological issue, like the fear of being in control, they can talk to the expert, like clinical psychologists, get some
Yes.
counseling, even psychotherapy if the symptoms is quite severe. There's a lot of clinical psychologists really available to help.
Okay.
So get some help, get some support also, talking to the other fathers. That might
Yeah.
help.
Ah, that's true.
Right.
I found that as well. And I'm sure you experienced the same, especially during our first child. Talking to others and having others reaffirm things that you are going through
Yeah.
really helps. Like, oh, don't worry, I went through that too.
Right.
And I got out of it by doing this, or I was able to make my situation easier and offer some solutions. And just knowing that other people are going through the same
You're
thing
not
you go
alone
through.
in this game, right?
Exactly. And now, so, Pa Robert, how often, or I shouldn't say often, how long should we expect something like this to last? Is this something that can continue on if gone unchecked, or get more serious, or is this something that will eventually fade away as long as the person's able to stay within their capabilities and emotions?
Well, most scientific research shows that 3 to 6 months, the the symptoms will come as the husband or the father adjusting with the new roles, or maybe they can put themselves together and they can adjust with the new roles and learning new things, and they can get over this problem.
That's good.
But it could happen, until 1 year,
Oh,
Wow.
my goodness.
especially if they don't get help as early as possible.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So talking to the expert is very, very helpful.
And this is a good question, P, because I want to know, is it also permanent? Because if it's permanent, it would damage the familyhood, between, the father and the children, and
Correct.
also the father between the wife,
Correct.
the husband and the wife. If it goes badly and permanently, how severe it would be, especially for, parenting, and also,
Family
the
structure
quality of the
itself,
family.
right, yeah.
Yeah, in some case that will affect how the father will treat the child. They can be very negative to the child, or also expressing anger to the child, or maybe
Resentment.
they will express some unacceptable things that will hurt the wife, the family, even the child. Yeah. So if they don't get help, it's very dangerous, and it could damage the relationship between father and the son, and maybe husband and wives.
Yeah. So in this case, I think we have to realize, once you're already married, once you want to have children, it's from both ways. Sometimes, the wife would say, I think I'm ready, but then, you have to wait and see for, the mental and the being of the husband too,
Yeah.
if they're ready to have children or not.
You're absolutely right. A lot of times when we consider starting a family, or what's called family planning, we
Yeah.
plan financially, we
Yes.
plan our time management as
Right.
well. But we don't think about the mental aspects at all,
Correct.
because we don't know what to expect when it comes to
Yes.
how it's going to affect us mentally. So in anticipation of this, Pa Robert, is there any way of knowing what is more likely to happen when? For example, is this more only likely to happen with a first child? Because a lot of the things that you mentioned are new experiences, having
Correct.
never done, not doing this ever in your
Yes.
life, doing it for the very first time, as opposed to having like a second or a third child where you've kind of been through it before, so you kind of know what to expect. There's no real
Right.
surprises.
Right. This is actually an adjusting issues, for the firstborn. Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, we don't know anything. Maybe we don't get any information. We don't go to the school of parenting before, so you
Yeah.
don't know how to be a parent.
Right.
Yeah, especially for the father. For mother and the baby, they have natural relationship. The baby is within the body of the
Correct.
mother for like 9 months, so
Yes.
they have this natural relationship.
Yes.
So the father is actually stranger to the relationship. So it's very common. The father will adjust with the new role, and and the father's voice and the smell, also the new thing for the baby, because so the baby also adjusts. So it's very common if the baby cries. So
Sure.
don't feel bad as a father.
Yeah.
So especially in the first birth, yeah. But for the second birth, maybe the father will learn something. So now he knows what to do for the second.
Right.
So postpartum depression is not very common in the second birth, but
Right.
it could happen too, especially if the father is not in a good mental health condition,
Sure.
Oh, all
or
right.
they have some continuous issue like maybe drugs or involved in the unhealthy relationship, things
Right.
like that.
Now, Pak Robert, and just additional question. Would it help for the husband or the father to be involved during the pregnancy? Let's say go to see the obstetrician or the obgyn together. Every doctor visit, the husband will be there next with the wife. Like you said, right? The baby naturally have this bond with the mother because it is inside the mother. But then with the father,
Right.
because it's not in him, then you would kind of have that. You have to make that effort to have that relationship with that baby.
Right.
So being involved with the pregnancy, would that also help?
Yes, I think it's very helpful. The father need to be in the bonding of relationship. For example, during the pregnancy, the father can come with the mother, maybe like go to the Lamas program. I remember we went to the Lamas program, husband and wife,
Yeah.
preparing for the baby, talking to the baby when he was still in the womb.
Right.
Try to relate so you're ready mentally to
Yeah.
welcome the baby. So you are in the relationship. But if you're very busy, and then
Yeah.
you just
That's why you have to make
don't
an
know what to
effort.
do.
It's an effort then, Pak
Right,
Robert, right?
right.
Yeah. And
More effort as a father, to build
Correct.
new relationship. So
Yeah.
make yourself ready for the new baby. It will help to prevent the postpartum depression, I think.
I'm
Yeah.
excited and ready.
And you know what? Actually, it's a good thing that you talk about this, Paul and Paro, but it kind of gives me another point of view too, because as a woman, usually I'm like, oh, you don't know how I feel. I'm
Right.
carrying the baby for 9 months, la, 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 la. And then I did not expect that, the
Surprise,
father.
we kinda do know how it feels.
Exactly. That, they need the relationship too with the baby.
Sure.
So.
That makes
Well,
sense.
I don't have more babies, but I'm just
No,
saying,
you're
I should
okay
have talked
for
to
now.
about Robert, way before I have my third baby.
Anyway, Pat Robert, real quick before we let you go, you yourself are a clinical psychologist. Out of those perhaps
Yes.
expectant fathers or fathers-to-be or actual fathers that have come to see you in regards to perhaps getting some mental restructuring
Yeah.
when it comes to postpartum depression, what's your success rate normally? How many people actually, bring themselves out of it and you're able to help?
Well, I'm involved also in the preparing the couples.
Oh,
Yeah.
together. Nice.
Based on my experience and the expertise, I think they are ready. If we can help them, talk to them how to prepare for the new baby. Yeah. So discuss with them how are you going to build relationship with the new baby. But more importantly is that you need to build a sense of team with your wife,
Correct.
because this baby is yours, both of you,
Yep.
and this is your collaboration, collaborative work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not only the wife. The wife is not a factory producing babies, but you are also in it and you're part of it. And later on, when the baby comes, you need to build also a sense of team together as
Yes.
parent. That will help also, to the development of the baby and the child as they grow older.
Yeah.
So this is a long-term, project. If
Correct.
we may say it's a project.
Yeah.
You're
So we need to prepare couples
Yes.
before the baby comes.
That's
Yeah.
actually a good idea, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Like if you feel any kind of doubt or any kind
Right.
of uncertainty,
Yeah.
go and see a counselor.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. Don't wait until something goes wrong.
Right,
In
and
fact,
that's what we're like to convey now to our
Yes.
viewers right now. I mean, if
Absolutely.
you're right now just got married, or as a couple, I think you should go to see Pat Robert or any clinical psychologist,
Sure.
because to prepare things, to prepare the umbrella before the rain is the best thing that you can do. Seriously.
Right. I'm assuming both of us as parents can attest to the fact that you can never be too prepared.
Yes. Yeah.
Pat Robert, thank you so much for your time.
I wanna say
Go
one
ahead.
more thing.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Please
I
do.
want to say one more thing. Yeah. Sometimes we pay attention too much for the pre-marriage counseling, but
All right.
actually the same importance to do is the post-wedding counseling.
Post-wedding
after
counseling.
they get married. So they
Okay.
need help. They need help especially in the first 5 years of their marriage, because maybe that's the time the baby comes, 1 or 2 or 3. It depends on how the planning it.
Right.
So the post-wedding, after the wedding, they need help. So they need also community, maybe just a small circle. It's very helpful, for you to talk to someone.
That's
But
interesting.
if you don't get help from your support system, you can also
Yeah.
see the psychologist. Yeah.
Oh, maybe you can make a program of post 10 years marriage, Robert, me and P. You will have a good coffee with you with
Just
our
to
spouses.
check in, just to check in, make sure everything's still good.
Yes, yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you so much, Pa Robert. We really do appreciate your time this
You're
morning.
welcome.
And hope you have your great week. Stay safe.
Thank you so much, Robert. Have a
You
great
too.
morning.
All right.